We are live. Did you see that countdown in the screen? I went 3, 2, 1.
Perfect.
I learned that from
Perfectly
rocket
timed.
ships. See?
Hey guys,
We did a countdown, which is fitting for the shirts.
for the space, for
For,
the space
for
we're
the
in right now.
space.
The space, the forceful space that is. Guys, ooh, Jordan,
Yes.
can you hear me? Okay, sound? It was cutting out for a second there.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Your
Well,
internet's
guys,
been a little weird tonight.
yeah, technical stuff, it happens.
Yeah.
Guys, we're on episode 93. Getting close,
93.
man. Getting
What are we
close
going
to
to do
those
at
triple
100? We're just
digits.
going to invite
Getting close to those
everyone to
triple
show up with
digits.
us.
Ooh, that could be fun. That could be fun. I mean, I personally would be a fan of a destination podcast. That'd be
A
cool too.
destination podcast. Ooh.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah. Last
Um,
time we tried a destination podcast, we gave the world a pandemic. So
or yeah, we at least contributed to it probably somehow.
although I would say I probably had it, since when I was on my way back on an airplane, my wife texted me that she had it. So I'm gonna assume, yeah. Oh, Amador said Moses Lake. They have good internet.
Do they?
Oh
They
yeah.
got they got that they got that one
My
G.
dad says go back to Rome. Um,
Aroma,
Aroma.
aroma,
I
aroma.
I would go back
Yeah.
to Rome. I
Oh my God.
I
Yeah.
That was a fun
Totally
place.
agree, Corky. That'd be amazing.
Maybe next time stay for like 15, 20 minutes longer. You know,
We would if we were especially were with our significant others, we would definitely have to stay at a more relaxed
yeah,
pace.
the pace that we moved at was only challenged by the pace at which like the military trains. Like
Yeah.
that's
Particularly special
ooh,
forces.
see Amador has 1 gig at his house. They have fiber. They had fiber there before we did in Staten.
Really?
Although I'm shocked always that Staten has the fiber that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm grateful though, man. I'll take it. I love my
They've got a lot of
fiber.
server farms up there because power's cheap. So
Uh,
a lot of
makes sense.
ETH miners, Bitcoin miners, and server farms.
Uh, yep, that makes sense. Speaking of farming and you know, diets maybe in some way.
Oh, farm!
Tell me
It's like
about
what a
rough
smooth
transition there.
transition to that. There,
Tell me, tell me, Jordan, you've been on a straight up meat diet this past week. Is
dude.
that accurate?
It is, and this was in true form. I don't think I told you about it for like a day because I was like, I woke up. It was the 1st of March, the day after we had our podcast last Sunday, and I hadn't eaten yet for the day, which is pretty normal for me. And I thought, I've always wanted to try the carnivore diet, and it's March 1st. I bet I could do it for at least a week. I've made it a week. If people go listen to JRE or listen to other people that have talked about doing the carnivore diet, they're warned about human rocket ships and the expelling of said meat and how your body reacts to it and everything. And
The bowels release the
I can
fury, the
say
fury of the
I can
bowels.
say personally for myself, I experienced none of that. Although I've done fairly low slash zero carb for stints of my life, so
Well,
it didn't really
you've
affect me.
done not so much high protein in the past, but you've done more like high fat, low carb, right? Wasn't it? Or like no
Yeah,
carb. You've done high
it's
fat.
moderate protein, so I would say it's sometimes like 100 grams a day, so that's not super low. Like low protein, I would think would be like 60 a day. And then fat, I've tracked that before just to see like where I got affected, and there was days I was well over 300 grams that um it didn't do anything to me. So
Okay, so let's talk about this real quick. Break down some basics. You've been doing mostly a meat diet for the past week. You've kind of done similar things in the past.
the only other
Uh,
things I've eaten besides meat, I
yeah,
still have I still use MCT oil in my coffee in the morning, so that's not meat, but it's pure fat.
it's fat.
And butter. But butter is allowed on most carnivore diets. So I
Okay.
eat grass-fed butter. I put it on meat when I have it as like flavoring and stuff. So yes.
Okay. So typically, this type of diet, people go through kind of like a change of acidity in their body, and they go through what's called ketosis, basically, where they have an excess ketones in their body,
Yeah.
and they sometimes get what's called like the flu, like the keto flu.
Hmm.
Did you experience any type of like fatigue at first with increasing just to basically pure protein?
No, but I think I'm a unique case in that I've done that before and I've tested and had soup. I like jump in and out of ketosis really, really fast. Tend to have a fairly like high processing metabolism. So at least now I don't, maybe I won't as I age more, but
Yeah.
um, I haven't ever experienced that. The first time I did it, I went slowly into it. So I've never really experienced it. This
How
time,
old were you
no.
when you first tried it?
It was only like 4 years ago, so like 36.
36, yeah.
So
So with this diet, why are you doing it? Why are you trying to go all meat? What's the point?
I was curious. Mostly that's it. I was just like, oh, some other people have tried it and they've had good results from it, and I thought,
Results in what way? Like weight loss
some
or
people have
like
had some
increase?
people have had weight loss, but they've had like other things go away, so like joint pain and stuff like that. And
Mhm,
since I deal
mhm.
with that a lot, I could,
Yeah.
I was curious about it, and we'll see. Yeah,
So
I don't dislike it, so I'll just keep it up for now.
let's talk about someone, as you said, different people have different metabolism kind of
Mm-hmm.
rates, and some of them, like for myself, when I'm working, like if I am not having some type of caloric intake,
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard for my brain to be able to keep up with the pace of my work.
Yeah.
And so I would be concerned about like I know fat would sustain you for a longer period of time,
Right.
but the ability to like be able to have something to eat consistently throughout the day, would that be like beef jerky? Or would it be
It
like
would have to be
what do you
fairly clean beef jerky because a lot of beef jerky, like people don't know this, but is like lined with soy, which is not good for you. So the idea is like you're getting out some of the toxins that would come with like plant-based stuff. It's essentially the same idea as going vegan, but the exact opposite. Um, so it has to be an animal product. Like it can't not be. Um, so that's fun.
is
But
there though like some type of whey option that's not animal product?
what do you mean?
Like is there actually like a supplemental like shake that could be straight keto and not be
You could
actually
do it.
from
It's really tough. There are some like pea proteins and stuff like that that you could do.
Mm,
It would be really. I don't know why that kicked on. That was weird. It would be really. It would be difficult. Not advisable at all. So as far as to the
okay.
brain thing, like maybe I know but maybe people watching don't know. But like your body, the way that it produces or goes through energy with fats or glucose or carbs or whatever, like through the Krebs cycle, once you're like where you want to be is not really good at one of those alone, but most Americans are really good at like breaking down carbs. And but your brain actually does like fat more. So as you transition over to that and you've gotten what you should be aiming for, which is metabolic flexibility, so switching fuel sources quickly, I've found that brain like cognitivity goes up
Mm,
once you're into it. But the keto flu thing is real. I've talked to people. I've like quote unquote coached people through that before, and there definitely is a lack, and it for some people is 2 to 3 weeks. Once they come out of that, every single person that has like persevered to the end of that has said they had more energy than they've experienced in years and more mental clarity. But they had to go
mm.
through that sickness because they were so used to just carbs as intake. Because if you don't burn the carbs off, you really don't ever burn the fat. So
And another thing that's kind of interesting as far as dietary intake is I do believe different people, whether it's through nature or nurture,
mm-hmm.
have a different way of processing food.
Oh yeah.
And some of them have a propensity to be able to better tolerate carbohydrates versus some people have a better ability to tolerate proteins.
Yes.
And so some people actually function at a higher capacity and maybe even a higher level of health on alternative diets, maybe not protein, maybe not carbohydrate, maybe not,
Yeah.
maybe vegan. So that's the other thing. Like maybe someone wants to fully try the straight up protein, straight up keto,
It may
but
not
there's
work.
a possibility that their body just actually it
Uh-huh.
may not be
Yeah,
right
I
setup for
would
it.
say though, of the three, there are two that are essential, and there's one that's quasi optional. You might operate better. You're not going to die. But all of our brains need good fats, not just, McDonald's French fries fat.
Mm-hmm.
And all of us need some protein, like complete, not just plant-based protein. I know that there's some out there that you can like construe to think are complete just on plant. I don't buy it. I don't buy that science. I've read into it. I don't think long term it's a good idea, but hey, everyone has their choices. But there are
So
studies.
are you?
There are studies into backgrounds, like you're saying, like
Yeah.
where there are people that high protein, high fat, they're healthy, and it is genetic. So like there was some done on
Right.
the Okinawans in Japan, the longest living people
Mm-hmm.
that we have on record. They ate yams and fish for their entire lives, and they have the longest life expectancy of anyone, at least up until current history. But the group that they studied a lot was I think it's the Pima Indians, I think it was, back in the day. They came into like a advanced society and started eating carbs, and they all started getting diseases and stuff until they moved
Right.
back to a meat diet, and then they were fine again.
Yeah. Well,
So
I mean, yam would definitely be high carbohydrate, right?
yes, yeah, but they're a good. They're a good like
More
source of
fibrous.
carbohydrates, more fibrous, and then they were eating
Yeah.
those rich omega-3 salmon. So they basically fish and yams. Like they eat like the things that was amazing.
Now, are you concerned about, are there certain supplemental vitamins that you might be lacking by just doing protein that you would normally get if you had some type of plant intake or some type of, you know, collard greens?
Um, I don't, not that I've found yet. I mean, I always take vitamin D. I usually take magnesium, because I find everyone's low in that. But those are the two things that I always tell people if they're like, "What should I take?" Like, if if you live here in the Northwest, probably some vitamin D, and everyone's low on magnesium, so that's a good start.
And you can know if you're taking too much magnesium, you'll usually be able to tell by the amount of poop coming out of your bottom.
Yep, that's how you know. You get to that
Yeah.
point and then you back it off a pill. That's that's you're not gonna kill yourself. I mean, don't take like the bottle, but like take 4, and if you erupt, take 3 the next time.
If you start chafing,
That's
then
true.
you know you're probably
Yeah.
wiping too
If
much.
you can only use a bidet, you've had too much magnesium.
Speaking of chafing and using a bidet,
Did
your
you see my
dad,
dad's comment?
Corky's comment there is pretty perfect. He said, it's really hard to find hot pockets these days because of discussions like this.
It's true.
Fair
That's
enough.
not
Fair
bad.
enough.
As soon as foods like that came around, you can historically go back and look. We
I
all
think
got
the
a
other
lot
reason it might
bigger.
be hard, I think it might be hard also because of all the lawsuits from scorched
Yeah,
earth
they should
tongue,
call them lava pockets.
blistering injuries, in
It's
people's
so
mouths.
true. Yeah, it's because they don't cook evenly. It doesn't matter how good your microwave is. You could
Doesn't matter
barbecue those
what you
things.
do.
The center turns to molten lava first, and the outside
Here,
is still frozen. It's
using gamma rays, I don't care what it is, you ain't gonna cook that even, baby. Dude,
yeah,
speaking of food though, and kind of like what's in your diet,
yeah.
there was a really interesting article that I read in a recent scientific news article, and it actually came out the 26th of last month, and it pertains to artificial sweeteners. Because
Ugh,
I'm a
those are the
proponent
worst.
of, well, but I'm a proponent of stevia personally. I
Yeah,
think I like the plant-based aspect of it, and like
yep.
monk fruit, stevia, they're kind of on the same
But I
level
wouldn't. I
in my.
wouldn't consider those artificial sweeteners.
No, no, no. True, exactly.
Okay,
No,
I'm just making sure
alternative.
you're not going there because we could fight
Yes,
about this real
I would
quick.
not consider them. I would consider them alternative sweeteners, perhaps. Um,
Alternatives to sugar. Yes.
well, whereas artificial sweeteners would be more like sucralose, saccharine, aspartame. Um, but in this article recently, what they found out was artificial sweeteners actually they think. What's that? What's Haley said? Do you want me to bring your steak down? It's ready.
No. That's okay, babe. I'll eat it when I'm done here. People don't need to hear that.
Now you're making me hungry, Haley. Though you're making
Oh,
me
do you
hungry.
want to have steak after this?
I do. My gosh, I really do. So yeah, tonight. Um, but artificial sweeteners they found may actually be playing a role in the spread of
I believe it.
antibiotic resistance. So this is wild because a lot of antibiotic resistance was was there was a correlation. Now, correlation
Right.
doesn't mean causation, right? But there was a correlation in antibiotic resistance as we started to see a much more prominent use of artificial sweeteners in such as Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, all these different diet drinks, even in a lot of these healthier ice creams and healthier snacks that they were
Quote
advertising.
unquote.
But yeah, so those four commonly used artificial sweeteners, so saccharine, sucralose, aspartame, and then another one that I actually hadn't heard of, acesulfame potassium. They can promote horizontal transfer of antibiotic resistant in genes. So basically, what happens, and it's kind of a strange kind of occurrence, but the bacteria that have a resistance they go through when they get exposed to this type of artificial sweetener they whenever they interact with another bacteria that doesn't have this type of resistance it goes through a transition that basically then alters the protein on the new bacteria and it makes that resistant to certain antibiotics. So the sugar interacts with the bacteria already
Mm-hmm.
and allows it to transfer that genetic code to other bacteria.
Yeah. That was going to be like that's way more detailed than I would have given, but I would say I know that a lot of these sweeteners mess with your gut and they mess with the bacteria that breaks down things and you mess with that like they say like you are what you eat. It's way more literal than we're probably like give it time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty
This so
crazy how
in
much
this
that can affect you.
in this article it says this process is regarded as the bacterial equivalent of sexual reproduction or mating and occurs when two bacteria come into direct contact. And then
Yeah.
that bacteria that's interacted with that artificial sweetener transfers that resistance through.
That's wild.
So be careful, guys. Drinking, diet sodas and certain
Well, we know they're
sweeteners.
bad. We know that they're like they have less response that's known than sugar to us. But we know that they're not good. Like most people. Some people are still on the fence. But
Well, and
most of us know that these artificial sweeteners and stuff not good for you. Like
here's
that.
the hard part though. There's so many different types of sweeteners out there.
Yeah.
So like for example though, like xylitol,
Mhm.
which is a
It's like a
alcohol based
right.
sweetener that they put in gum, has been shown to help prevent cavities.
Right.
And so,
And kill
but it,
dogs. Just
and
FYI. Don't let your dog eat it.
don't let your dog eat gum. you know.
Well,
Um,
like there's a lot of deaths.
yeah, but we'll post a link to this
Yeah.
news article about artificial sweeteners and some of the recent studies they had attributed to.
Here's what
And
I found. If
it's
you can avoid
fascinating.
them, you should. Like, I think we know that. We knew that before now. This is good. This is good evidence. Correlation, not causation. But stay away from artificial sweeteners if you can. Monk fruit's good. I'll tell you.
Stevia is good.
Stevia's good.
Stevia is good. There's been a lot of research on
There's
stevia.
there's a lot of options out there, and they're not as expensive as they used to be. Like because they're more
Yeah.
popular, since hot pockets are less less
Sorry.
prevalent. Sorry, Dad. These other things are becoming more prevalent, and it's you get popularity. That's what sells. So,
Yeah.
as the more people buy it, the more it will go down. So,
Well, switching gears a little bit, guys. I'm gonna keep bringing this up every week because it's just getting crazier.
yeah, I like that you're following this because I'm not. So,
I'm following it just because it seems like such a historically wild situation. And it has been for the past, I guess, 50, 60 years. But every year there's always something new. But
right.
Myanmar it's blowing up. It's getting worse. It keeps getting worse. More people are dying. Um, a a large amount of, I think it was, 193 or something, Myanmar police crossed the border into India after refusing to carry out a bunch of orders set by the new militia, by the new military. Basically the dictated
The new
military.
government.
Yeah, the new government. So luckily, some of the police are standing up to this, saying, "Hey, we're not going to allow this type of like shooting our own people that basically because we don't agree with them voting." Um, and then so the police now though they're occupying and manning hospitals so that way certain if like certain like not refugees but what's the word for it? Not terrorists. Basically people that are against the military, if they go to the hospital seeking help, the police are like arresting them before they can even get the help. So like they're manning all the like
Gosh.
the necessary healthcare facilities, and raiding, constant raiding going on. There was it a 16-year-old girl recently, like 2 days ago? She said her shirt. Okay, if you guys, some of you have probably seen the article, but she was wearing a shirt and it said like, um, "No worries" or "It'll be okay," something like that. And she was, of course, protesting, and then they just straight up shot her. The
For
the
wearing
guard.
that shirt?
Well, I don't know. The irony in that is pretty significant,
Yeah.
But
They were like,
yeah,
no, it's not.
yeah.
Don't
So
tell
thoughts and
people
prayers
that.
to the people in Myanmar, and it's a terrifying thing that I hope no other country has to degrade into, but it's scary.
No joke. That's.
No
This is
bueno.
why, guys. This is why we want small government. Okay. This is why we want small government. That's it.
Well,
That's
and
all the details I have.
in that situation, it's actually being concerned about the power of the military
Yeah.
because military overthrew the government.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's giving. It's so there's supposed to be a balance of power, right? So like they're supposed to be in check. You don't want to not have a military. That would be bad because then you can't protect yourself. But the leadership of the military for sure shouldn't be. And I would say, like not following any conspiracy theories or anything, but like there's some legitimate concerns that we should have about the power that some of our intelligence and military
Yeah,
command has as
totally.
well. And
Totally.
these things are not to look at lightly or loosely and go, oh my gosh, it's so bad for them. It's like it very easily could be here. Like I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
going to. I'm not saying I have any evidence of that, but it very well could be anywhere. And so it's why we need to like keep things in check. So
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. So,
crazy.
so on that same aspect, something I
Yes.
wanted to, it's a little bit politically sensitive, maybe,
Good.
but not too bad.
No,
Not
no,
too
no.
bad.
We're here to test. Do it.
Okay, so do you guys out there know about the whole Jamal Khashoggi situation went down, in Saudi Arabia? Are you guys familiar with this?
I know nothing about it. Like, not even joking. I didn't read
Oh,
your
really?
article. I want you to tell me about it.
um, um,
I'll just answer for everyone.
oh, hold on a second. What did David Chandler say?
He said if you can't spell it, don't eat it. Oh, wait. Eisenhower, on leaving office, said the greatest danger to America was the military-industrial complex. I very much agree. Like, a lot of them are hidden from even the power of the executive office. And they did it for, like, safety reasons or national security. And it's a very scary thing. It's a tightrope to walk. I totally get it. Like there's some things that should be kept secret and should be looked into and all that kind of. We know that. We know that it shouldn't just be open to everybody. But that is what I'm talking about. That's my fear too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is something actually that's a really interesting, and I want to kind of talk about both sides of this political drama.
Yes.
So, back in 2018, so some of you have probably already heard about this, but I'm sure many of you have. Back in 2018, Jamal Khashoggi, okay, he was a U.S. based journalist, okay, but he was originally from I think Saudi Arabia, I believe, but he was a U.S. based journalist, but he was a critic of the Saudi Arabia government, okay. So in 2018, they had invited him to have some type of discussion about.
Is this a picture of him?
That's a picture of him. He was a very
Okay.
influential journalist. Okay, He walked into a Saudi consulate in Istanbul, where there was videos from the building across the street. Well, come to find out, eventually later on, his remains were found, and basically he'd been murdered and I believe disassembled, and because he was speaking out.
That's not a good thing. Like, I can
Yeah,
take my
not
computer
a great
apart
thing.
and put it back together and it keeps working if I do it right.
Not a great thing.
Can't do
Not a
that
great
with a person.
But he was speaking out against Saudi Arabia and some of their policies and some of their like it ranged from basically like the treatment of women to like their stances on terrorist funding and different things on that level. Okay, right? So Jamal Khashoggi whacked, right? So our CIA found evidence suggesting yes, it actually is true that he was murdered, but we actually believe he was murdered with the approval of the current crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman. So the Saudi Arabia is basically like new ruler, okay? Like,
Right.
and this guy's I think 35 or something like that. So he's a young guy, the head of all of Saudi Arabia now, okay? So when this was discovered, this was during President Trump's presidency, first term, right? Sorry, I was trying to think about what the term for term was. So during his first term, right, this was discovered, and essentially President Trump didn't really do anything as far as like sanctioning or as far as making any type of like threats. And the reason it was even more of an issue is because this journalist had not citizenship in the U.S., but he had residency in the U.S. or something along those lines as well. So there was some connection to the U.S. as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically this prince ordered the murder of a journalist because he didn't like what he was saying, right? That's what it boils down to.
Right.
So the situation
You should have just led with that. I'm just kidding.
I know. I wanted more deep. Let's get more deep. Okay. So, well, that leads to during Trump's presidency, a lot of Democrats were really harping on the fact that President Trump didn't put any type of tariffs or any type of, penalization on the crown prince. Okay. So, come Biden said, he's going to get elected. He says, hey, I'm going to put some type of tariffs on Saudi Arabia. I'm going to punish this crown prince. We cannot be killing journalists like this. This has to be, basically, this has to be dealt with. This is bad. We cannot allow a foreign leader to be murdering people just frivolously, right? So basically, Biden gets into presidency, and there's a bill that basically comes up, not a bill, but a discussion, a meeting, basically, and they decided, actually, you know what? We're not going to do anything either. Trump didn't do anything. Actually, we're not going to do anything. And here's why. Here's why, though.
I have so many questions.
I know. It's frustrating. It's frustrating because they did it out of like, when you're running to be elected, you're going to say whatever you can say to get elected, right?
Well, I was going to say there's a lot of things that's happened with, but I have another thought, but I'm going to let you finish yours.
Okay. So, but here's the situation. Saudi Arabia is one of our largest purchasers. Buyers, there we go. That's a better word. One of our largest customers, perhaps, of our weaponry, of weapons, and of aviation, and of a lot of some of our big purchase items, aviation. Also, they are our closest ally in the Middle East. Okay.
Okay.
So whether you're Trump's presidency, Biden's presidency, they're very hesitant to lose that ally.
Right.
Not only that ally, but also that economic boon, because if they don't buy from us, they'll buy from Russia or they'll buy from China. And the risk is not only if we lose the money, but right now the overall game and the overall political concern is a priority as far as China goes right now, because China's making a lot of moves in a lot of countries to get footholds in those places. And the U.S. is terrified that if we make an enemy out of Saudi Arabia's prince, shit, China's going to start ruling the world, and which is obviously a big leap, but a concern.
I should be drinking moonshine. It's a good question. So my thought on that is, and this comes down to the intelligence stuff. on the outside, it totally looks like you should put tariffs on that, knowing what we know, right? Like you and I know,
From a human like
yeah,
decency kind of thing,
I know
right?
this happened. This is what's going on. With the knowledge I have, that's what happened. It makes me wonder what's going on behind the scenes that neither Trump nor Biden from either side, besides what you just said, and that very well could just be it. But there's always things happening that even some of the people on the ground don't know the details of what's happening. And some of that is to protect those who are there. If we have people who are in there, things that we're looking at, things that could be worse if we do this versus living with this problem. It just, there's always so many questions you have to ask yourself. You can't just say like, oh, well, Trump didn't do that, he's a dork. Well, Biden didn't do
Same
it
thing.
for some reason.
Right.
We don't know. Like, it could be complete ignorance. It could be complete stupidity. Both of those are options, but it also could be that there's just so much going on that we can't see. It's hard to look at those things and go like, this is what I would do. Like, yeah, they probably would do the same thing if they had the knowledge that you have. So who knows?
Well, and
It's freaky.
to be completely honest, you would have to be pretty foolish to think that the United States president and or whatever different deep state kind of, you know, committees there are haven't ordered the death of individuals
Oh, dude,
in our country for sure. There's no way
for
people have not been suicided.
absolute certain. Yeah, I mean the Clintons were doing it all the time, right?
Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
Hashtag Jeff Epstein.
There's
Right?
there's a term out there called the Clinton Clinton death count or whatever. Yeah, there's a reason for that. There's a reason why these things float around, whether or not they hold as much truth as we think they do. It's like enough things add up. You're like, I don't want to believe conspiracies, but there's way too many coincidences that surround some of these things.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the other interesting thing, so Corky made a good point.
Decline invitations to
He
Saudi
said
embassy
decline.
in
He's
Turkey.
like, what? One thing we could do is decline invitations, right, to Saudi embassy or in Turkey. However, something that was kind of another counter to that is we recently just made some of the largest strides in peace with Israel because Saudi Arabia finally recognized Israel as a sovereign state, as a real nation, right?
Right.
So the U.S. at the same time during Trump's presidency was like, hey, we're making big leeway and grounds in basically establishing this country.
Yeah.
So do we want to make Saudi Arabia more of an enemy at this point?
Right. Well, it's like my uncle said here, don't forget Saudi Arabia is our proxy against Iran. Yeah, it's that actually probably is nail on the head right there as to why they're not trying to rock that boat. It's the same reason, and I think that this is something that I was listening to some stuff on today and looking at some information, and it's like there are certain things sometimes you have to kind of partner with one of your enemies to take down someone that's worse.
Yeah.
But
the enemy of my enemy.
So
right?
and so that's a complete strategy that works. What's most important in that strategy is what you do when you're done. So if you look at like our history now, we partnered with China against Russia. And then we never really ended that partnership, and we probably should have.
Ooh, that's interesting.
And so but at the time, what was worse than not partnering with China and letting Russia go? That was having both China and Russia as a problem. And so lesser of two evils to get rid of and calm one down, but then you have to part ways. But I don't think we ever did. And I think that was one of our big problems. And so in this, is that another problem we're facing in those types of relationships?
Right.
I don't know. I don't have the intelligence to look at to know.
I think there's a concern as far as the risk of communism spreading.
Mm-hmm.
And if we leave a void in the Middle East and leave an opportunity for China to spread communism in that area, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's a big
100%. The problem is that we don't always focus here, and I think that there's more of a foothold here than we know. And
in the United States,
yeah.
Well, and I think China's playing a multifaceted game. I think there's obviously a cyber war, but a social war and a political war and all these things. And I think a lot of external forces have done a pretty effective job in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, 100%. That is what it is. I'm stealing your 100% tonight. And
100%.
that kind of takes us into a little bit, and we will come back in, and I think we have a couple other things that we might touch on. But that's a good segue to the poster that I put up is like, why is everyone obsessed with canceling everyone? I
Mm-hmm.
think that we're hitting on that. I think we've hit on that topic, is that the easiest way for that type of change in a society from free to communist is to get people distracted at looking at each other and making enemies of your neighbor, making enemies of someone who thinks differently than you, making enemies of someone that has different political ideologies than you do. And we're seeing that at an alarming rate. I mean, we've seen it for the last few years. Like we were talking about the Dr. Seuss thing before we went live. Tons of
Mm-hmm.
people are trying to cancel Dr. Seuss, and I said, I've heard of this. I've seen this happen a few years back. Some people tried to get some traction on it, and it didn't really gain traction. Here's the thing: Dr. Seuss's books have done great things for kids learning. It's been proven. There's been studies that have done the way that sounds, the way the words are made up. It's funky. It's weird. They're some of the most memorable books besides like Where's Waldo that I remember as a kid. And there are, so I went and did some checking to see, like, was Dr. Seuss a racist? Here's the thing: a lot of people were in his age, and there are a lot of people that are around that still carry some of those beliefs, and it's terrible and it's sad. He started out, I didn't know this, but I did find out, as like a political comic drawer, and he drew some awful things that had to do with slavery and African American people and just people of color in general. And but it was a job before he started doing the books thing. But you can see the evolution, especially if you like look at the books and his content. I think if he were still around today to make comment, he would say like, those were a mistake in my past. I probably shouldn't have done that. And but we have a society that's now being told like, when anyone makes a mistake, you just cancel them. But it's not only that, because there are people that have made some dumb mistakes. Like we have Cuomo in New York, who has like 4 allegations against him right now of women saying that he's like been, you know,
Inappropriate.
inappropriate with them. Well, how many does it take before he's looked at and canceled? Because there's been people that have been canceled for way less. And I'm not calling for the cancellation of him. I think they should look into those for sure. It's a big deal. But there have been people that have been canceled for far less, that just seem to at least have different political ideologies. And people are getting caught up in this whole cancel everything, get rid of everything, get rid of anything from our past that's bad. And I totally agree that maybe there are some things that we should point out from some people in the past that have been leaders in our country and stuff, but it's so dangerous to remove all of that, because there are things today that you should technically get rid of if you want to. There's tons of technologies that are around that are German technologies that were created under the Nazi regime, that if you really want to cancel things, then stop using some of the technologies that you are, because those are the people that made some of that. And those are terrible things that they did, but it doesn't mean we should get rid of things because of it. So like the Dr. Seuss books, they serve a great purpose. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I think my thoughts on this are, well, first of all, I want to acknowledge what your dad said. He said nation states have interests, not principles.
Yes.
It's not the current interest of the United States to penalize Saudi for an act of murder on their soil. Which,
Right.
yeah, that's true.
That's true.
We have interests, not necessarily principles. I mean, we have principles probably to a degree, right? I.e., um, you know, Holocaust,
Yeah.
or like certain
Yeah.
things. There's like principles of like human decency, and also to the degree of like the greater good, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
Um,
But I mean,
but
in that, like, there's only so much you can do. It's like,
yeah.
there's so many examples, but
But going back to what you were saying, it feels like the difficulty with cancel culture in particular, is everything is significantly amplified by the type of state of media we have today,
yeah.
with social media in particular.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like everything goes from, in the past there could be a discussion and something controversial or something to be worked on,
Right.
but now it gets it gets taken from, okay, we need to fix this issue, we need to improve this issue, to um, a hurricane of distress and frustration, and causing almost more hurt from the previous isolated
Yeah.
issue. And so things are really taking from 0 to 100 within a
Or
second, and that I feel the rate of acceleration
mhm.
of issues is what causes a lot of the damage too.
Well, it's and like I said, it's a distraction it's happened historically before, and I'm not saying that's what's happening now, but it's happened historically before where the if you take like the whole race issue that's going on right now, it's a sensitive issue with people. I'm a white guy, and a lot of people think that just because of that, I'm a racist, and I don't. That's just that logic in and of itself is just like lost on me. It's fine. You can think it. Like, I believe in free speech all you want. Say it. It doesn't like it. It's annoying to me, but say it. It doesn't mean it's true. But when you take that discussion away, when you say no, no, you cannot say any contra argument. Like, you can't, and you start canceling people that are actually having the other side. That's a dangerous place. And what you're doing by doing that, even with this whole Dr. Seuss thing, is you're making enemies. You're not getting rid of something that you think is bad. What you're doing is you're signifying to a whole group of people who the enemy is, and that this is the person that you're against, and they're against you. And so that doesn't create unity. That doesn't create
Well,
unity at all.
it goes both ways. I mean, if somebody's saying there's systemic racism,
Mm-hmm.
then I think it's important to hear why they believe there's
Oh, I have
systemic
tons of
racism,
questions for him. I'm not going to
right?
say don't say it. I'm
Well,
saying if you say it, show me.
explain your reasons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
explain your
Well, and
reasons.
but also, like, I think it's also important to be in a position where you would be willing to hear something that might not be feel good
Oh yeah,
necessarily, like, and that
absolutely.
I think, as far as, like, I think there's a lot of prejudices that people have that they could be blind to, or not even really recognize it, just because of their nature and their nurture, their
Mm-hmm.
environment they were
Well,
raised in,
and that's
on
and
both ends
but
of the spectrum.
that's exactly the argument that I would have, that saying that canceling really anything that isn't dangerous, that isn't going to like kill someone or hurt someone, by any means, if it's illegal, delete it. Get rid of it. But like broadcasting or something like that, like I'm talking about on social media specifically. But when you remove things and topics and don't let people hash them out, you are removing their opportunity to. They might fight. They may not be friends. They may completely just unfriend each other, and that's totally fine. That's the way it's supposed to work. But if people are expecting everyone to moderate everything and anything that you might see that you would find offensive and contrary to what you currently believe, that's more dangerous than anything
Well,
have
that goes back
to
to
have an echo chamber.
the basic issue, the root statement. I always say the only way to beat bad speech is with
Mm-hmm.
better speech.
Right.
You know, and that's just the truth. Like,
Right,
you're
because if
not
you
going
get rid
to
of it,
solve an issue unless you have
right.
better speech.
If you get rid of it, you make it worse. That's the problem. Like, I was listening to, I think it was Chappelle, that was talking about how comics get away with certain things that they say. It was a video on Facebook. I'm shocked it was
Yeah,
even on there,
yeah.
because he was saying like, he's like, there are people that say things in this industry that are racist. And he said some of them don't mean them, and they're hilarious. Some of them I know, because I know them from backstage, absolutely mean them. And he's like, I believe so much that we should be free in what we say in this country that I do not want to stop them.
That was
Because
Dave Chappelle.
I think it was Chappelle. It's like, I do not want to stop them because I don't want them to stop me.
Yeah.
And so he's like, people can judge them and choose to listen or not. They can choose to associate with them or not. Let them do it. Don't let other people just wipe them out. Let them speak. And here's the thing, is like, if I had an enemy, would I want to silence everything they say and let them be quiet? No, 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 no. I would want to do the exact opposite, because I want to hear what they're saying. I want to hear, what is it that I can do to counter said enemy or someone that's against me? Like, maybe not even to like do anything to hurt them
Well,
at
and the
all.
interesting thing, as far as like freedom of speech goes, I guess in
Mm-hmm.
particular, is it is interesting The issue with that comes in the situation where an individual doesn't have a platform to make that freedom to have the same platform as another individual,
Right.
right? So in the same respect, we've talked about canceling certain people getting canceled on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
certain people getting canceled on, I don't know, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, right? In the past, very few people had the resources to get on social media or get on, the news, get on newspapers, get on,
Yeah.
Oprah, Oprah, or get on those TV programs, right?
Right.
Now we have so many people with so much potential for access,
Yeah.
um, that we actually have more platforms to have a voice, I think, right now.
Right.
But this is the first time we've experienced in this broader range of access, a curbing of people's freedom of speech in those areas.
Yeah. It is, and I mean, it's a new area, and this happens in new industries. And although I am for smaller government all the time, I'm not for no government. And so there has to be some like reining in of things. And I think this is an area that we have. And Jordan, or a past guest, that's been
Yeah, Jordan.
that's been a long time, like episode 0.
I know we need to have her back on.
We can't have respectful conversations and disagree with others. That's another issue. Totally. Her and I were talking about that today. It's now if you don't agree with me, you're wrong and a bad person on either side.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
It goes both ways, and it's she had texted me when she saw the picture up, and I told her it's funny when we talk about these types of things. I think our wives have asked, and I've had other friends ask, like, are you guys still friends? It seems like you don't agree. And it was like, why do you equate agreeing with me liking you or anyone else? So there's definitely people that I disagree with enough that I would avoid their company a lot of the time, but I don't cancel them as a person. I just choose to associate with other people more often. It's like, I think that anyone and everyone can find like one person that annoys them, just gets under their skin for whatever reason. Who knows? Like maybe it's just because they're that much different than you, or there's just something that they do that annoys you. There's people that are equating people having canceled Disney Plus because of the Corona thing. And they're saying, oh, conservatives are unsubscribing from Disney Plus. They're cancel culture. They're pro cancel culture. I'm like, that's not the same thing. Like if I choose not to shop at Costco, I'm not canceling Costco.
Well,
I'm saying
here's
more
the other
power
thing.
to them. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And here's the I think maybe the disparity we've had to a degree, and this comes from certain communities that people live in that are very maybe in some ways isolated with their own similar opinions, that it's almost like growing pains.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like it hurts when you have interactions with individuals if you have not built up the ability to have healthy conversations with somebody that doesn't agree with you.
Yeah.
And so there's a degree of emotional maturity and also social maturity to be able to have either a relationship or have a healthy conversation with somebody if they are totally in the opposite lane as you.
Absolutely.
And so there's a degree of maturity and growth that takes. And if you stay, and I'm not telling you, you have to change your friends. I'm not saying that sort of thing. But if you stay in the lane where you're not willing to have relationships with somebody that doesn't necessarily agree with you in every single way, then you're going to have a really hard time growing and maybe even seeing perspectives and understanding perspectives and maybe even changing other people's perspectives if you can't get on their level and or have a healthy relationship or conversation with them.
Well, and I would say to that, if you find yourself thinking, I can't even hear that person. So like you and I have heard this from friends before.
Yeah.
I can't even hear that person anymore. I'm going to start just pretending like those people don't exist anymore. Here is my challenge to anyone who thinks like that, because I think you're wrong, and I would have that discussion with you all day long and be civil about it. But if you think that, I would argue that you are not as solidified in your beliefs as you think. Because if you can't hear something contrary to your beliefs, I would say and challenge you to even think, how confident are you in what you actually believe? Because if it can't even stand the test of someone talking wrong about it, I don't think you believe it at all. I would go that far. I would say, I don't think you're 100% sold.
And the degree that you're emotionally triggered. I think
Yeah.
the degree, and now there's things that people are going to be passionate about, right?
Yeah.
But there's a difference between being passionate about something, but being emotionally triggered to the point where you then reflect your anger back towards them. And then
Right.
that's just going to be a cascade.
Well, yeah. And I'm saying, so I would clarify, and I think that both of us would agree with this. If you were like, if someone is abusive to you, totally fine to like leave that person and
Yeah.
make him not part of your life. And I would encourage it hands down tomorrow, like yesterday, do it. But if they're not, and it's just because they disagree with you or whatever, like I had someone that was a Facebook friend, it was like an acquaintance or whatever, and he said, if you agree that there's election integrity issues, I will unfriend you. And I asked him a question on there, and he said, and he asked me a question. I said, yeah, I was in DC on the 6th, and he just unfriended me and not unfriended me, blocked me. And I was like, oh, I immediately thought to myself, like, number one, I didn't really care. Number two, I thought, you don't actually believe what you're saying. You're just an angry human being. That's fine. You can be there. Like, but if you think that's going to make a world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change.
Yeah.
Batman.
Isn't that a song?
Yeah, Batman wrote it.
Okay. Really?
Yeah. Well, he says that in the Lego Batman movie.
Make a change. Make a change.
It's a Michael Jackson
there's
song.
There's a song. Oh, it's a Michael Jackson song. There it is. Thank you.
You
Oh
see,
my God.
I thought you were joking. I was like,
No, seriously.
I
couldn't
totally
remember
was like reeling you in on that, and I'm like,
And I was like, what? The Dark Knight? Maybe? I don't know.
oh, it's the beginning of
man.
Have you not watched the Lego Batman movie? Like, it's at the beginning, and he's like, he has the quote, and he's like, if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. And it says Michael Jackson, and it erases, and it says Batman.
Batman. That's awesome. Well, dude, I think it's time for us to hit up our shower thoughts and our TILs. We've had a lot of good social.
Yeah, definitely we've had these types of conversations before, but I'll just end with, this is a conversation that every single one of you needs to have with people. And find someone that has differing opinions from you and learn from them. If someone's like, hey, I'm all for cancel culture, ask them why. They may not have a reason. And that's not bad. I wouldn't make fun of someone for that, but I would just ask them, like, well, what's your reason? It's like, is it just because it's popular, or do you actually have a reason? Did someone do something to you? Is there any way that I can help?
If you come at it from the approach of not necessarily even like that they're wrong, but come at it from the approach of like trying to figure out why does 1 + 1 = 2?
Yeah. Or
trying to figure out like
3.
how does that opinion or does that belief get built?
Because it could have come out of abuse. There's some people that I know that,
or from being right. Maybe they have a correct perspective on something. Okay.
I am going to. Well, we have something new for you guys.
We're gonna hit some groove music, guys, during our
TIL. Go.
TILs. Okay. At any point today, I learned that at any point there are 12 to 14 serial killers in the U.S.
Whoa.
And serial killers, I can't remember how many it qualifies for, but it's obviously you have to have multiple murders associated with that individual in succession. Yeah. And serial killers.
Whoa. Don't know why I did that. I was trying to hear if the music is too loud.
That music sounds good. It sounds good on my side. All right.
Okay. Here's my TL. Sorry, guys. This is the first time we've tried this, so I was just trying to make sure that it's low enough. I think it is. Okay. Today I learned, despite being depicted on California's flag, the California grizzly bear has been extinct since 1924.
Oh, that's sad. That's a bummer. Amador said that most of the serial killers are in the Pacific Northwest.
Seriously, we breed those. It's because it gets dark earlier and just people are overall grumpy.
I saw that statistic as far as the serial killer goes when I was after watching the Netflix series Night Stalker, which was wild. You guys, I would highly recommend.
Also, if you look up
Netflix
the
series.
podcast Lore, and there's a lot of deaths and mythology and stuff that have happened in the Pacific Northwest. There's like a cliff where everyone just feels compelled to jump off.
Yeah. Ooh,
and it's here in Oregon.
All right, my next
Super
TIL.
low. Yeah, low vitamin D.
Today I
that's what it is.
learned, this is actually this is true. Like, I actually have a link for the study.
Okay.
The study took place in 2003 out of Germany. Okay. But today I learned that the classic, old lady perfume, Lily of the Valley, some of you out there have probably heard of it, Lily of the Valley, is, for some reason, it's irresistible to sperm. A study out of Germany found that exposure to the scent doubles the speed and honing ability of sperm.
What?
Yeah, the scent Lily of the Valley, man.
I don't even know what to say to that.
I don't even know what to
I don't even want to
say.
know like who got funding for
research,
that
baby.
study.
Yeah, how they decided like
what is it you want to research? Like, okay, here's what we want to do. Like,
listen, my grandma has a perfume.
Grant approved.
Okay?
I want to find out.
Grant approved. Done. Sold.
Holy. Today I learned that Alexander Graham Bell was a eugenicist and feared the creation of a deaf race, deaf being lack of hearing, advocating for the elimination of sign language and deaf schools in order to prevent deaf people from reproducing.
What?
So tomorrow, everyone that believes in cancel culture, get rid of your phone because it is supporting Alexander Graham Bell. That's sorry.
Horrible. Well, so is that because he had a phone and he's like, people won't be able to hear my device, and so I want to get rid of these people?
He invented them. Get rid of them. They definitely perpetuate getting rid of deaf people.
Alex is messed up, bro.
Yeah.
Alex
is that screwed up?
Bro. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still going to use a phone. It's,
So Amador said that he remembered that his recess teacher always smelled so good. Lily, baby, Lily of the Valley.
Lily of the Valley. Oh.
All right, shower thoughts. I got 4.
I have 3, so you go first.
Okay. Okay, something that I've noticed when I'm making my lunch for work or after I'm cleaning up dinner.
Yeah.
As an adult, few things are as satisfying as using the perfect size Tupperware container to store your leftovers.
Dude, I went through this today. I couldn't find the right size one for a bunch of sausage that I made from a meat diet, and it really made me mad, and I'm still angry about it. I don't
Terrible.
like.
The right size Tupperware goes a long ways.
Yep.
All right, hit me.
Yep.
TIL. Or show.
You're an adult when you miss trash day and it ruins your entire week.
Oh.
So many times.
Yep. I'm literally at work thinking, I can't believe I forgot to take the trash out. I can't believe
What a garbage day. And I couldn't even remember it.
What a dump. All right. A good vocabulary is only as good as your audience's ability to understand it.
It's true. You look like a jerk if you overextend.
Yeah. You seem very loquacious.
Was that in it? Please tell me that was in the shower thought.
No. I just said that.
Okay. That would have been an amazing end to that shower thought. Like,
yeah.
If that was written in there. Oh my gosh. The 10 years between 25 and 35 are far shorter than the 4 years between 14 and 18.
Yeah. Oh. Blink of an eye.
I would say between 14 and 15.
Yeah. Right. Or 15 and 16.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, with pregnant women as their main consumers, virgin drinks cocktails are really poorly named.
Say that again. Sorry, I was reading a hilarious comment.
With pregnant women as their main consumers, virgin drinks or cocktails are really poorly named. Because the main consumers of them are virgins, right?
Yeah, that's very true.
Just ironic. Let's say ironic.
Jordan said, not me, the other Jordan, I have spatial issues and I picked 2 wrong size containers tonight. She outdid me by double.
That is very difficult. That would cause me stress. I might have difficulty sleeping that night. Difficulty sleeping.
I'm going to have difficulty sleeping, and it's not even in my fridge. Okay, here's my last one. People are really shocked when actors turn out to be bad people when their whole careers are based on being people they're not.
Truth. All right, my last one. Because my kids have been watching Harry Potter a lot.
That's his favorite word.
Owls
of course it is.
Are a major security flaw in the Harry Potter world. All someone would have to do is write a letter to whoever you're looking for and follow the owl. Right?
It's true. There's a lot of things that don't make sense in that.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was based on a true story, but I could be wrong.
It is.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I'll take it.
Oh.
All right. That's all I got, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Episode 93. It is a pleasure having y'all with us. And
so much fun.
Talking about life and love and happiness and the pursuit of crazy.
The pursuit of evil.
Pursuit
of finding your enemies and asking them why they're your enemy.
Your frenemy. Your frenemy is a friend me.
Yep.
Man. All right, guys. Well, have a fantastic week.
It's going to be a great week.
Go find someone that doesn't agree with you and have a healthy conversation with them.
Yes.
And maybe even make them your friend.
That's your homework this week, peeps, is find someone and have a conversation. You know what's funny is when you start asking them questions, most people eventually ask you some too, and they can learn something too. It's fun.
So. Hope you guys learned something.
Yep.
Peace out.
See you guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
My button's not working. Here it goes. Bye.